What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Super Bowl 55 is here. Chiefs, Buccaneers, just 3 days away. We are back live, something we haven't been doing enough of lately. I'm so excited to be back live with everybody. We've got a great group, a dream group of cappers to break down this big money-making opportunity for all of us. And I'm so pumped to be here. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on odds.com. Let's first say welcome to all of our experts here on the show. But most importantly, look in the bottom right corner, the big Ragoo, beating COVID, coming back in action. This is the first time we've seen him since he went to the hospital. Ragoo, man, I mean, I'm so excited to be here live, but just seeing you, man, is just the best feeling. We've got so much love for you. We were sending all the good vibes to you and Kelly, and now seeing you back in action is incredible. How you doing, my man?
I'm on the mend. I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks. I appreciate everybody's love and support, especially you guys at Odds, the family, and everybody. But yeah, I feel all right, man. It's good to see some smiling faces, some familiar faces. Guys I love to cap with and talk about games, breaking stuff down, and can't wait to get on this Super Bowl action with you guys tonight.
Oh, Ragoo's back in action. And look who we have, the whale capper, who's had a very successful NFL season, judging by the background that he's putting in. Wow, looking good, whale capper. It's such a treat to have you joining us here on Odds. How you doing, my man?
Jimmy, Bebsy, so great to be back with you guys. Big Ragoo, so good to see you again as well. I know you were like a minus 500 favorite over COVID, but it's still good to see the good guys win. It's good to get that winner home. Knew you would win, but no, it's a lot of fun. Honestly, I don't think you can ask for a better Super Bowl to handicap. We got the greatest quarterback of all time trying to get his 7th ring with the new team. New coach going up against the reigning champs, the best quarterback playing right now, maybe the best coach coaching right now. This is as good a matchup as you can hope for, and it's going to be a lot of fun Sunday, regardless of how it shakes out.
Oh, absolutely agreed. Well put. And there he is, Bebsy, up in the top right corner. Been capping with him for every game this season, and it's been such a joy to working with you, Bebsy. And this is it, our last video of the year. Bebsy, how you doing, my man?
Jimmy, baby, I'm doing good. I'm excited for the show. I'm excited for this lineup you've put together. I'm excited to be Turnsy's Valentine, as he's asked in the chat. The answer is let's have some fun tonight. Let's get paid, boys.
Let's get paid. What a great group we see in the chat right now. So nice to be live with everybody. Buzz Nuts first in the chat. Nice work. Dennis Garcia, he has his NFL prop article up right now on odds.com. I'm going to put a link to it before this show ends. There's Canas Cat, whom lives here in Toronto with me. I would have seen him if we weren't in a pandemic. I miss him very much. John Schwartzy coming to us live from Las Vegas. And yes, Schwartzy, I'm going to try not to focus on how much money is going to be rolling in. I shouldn't even talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. Let's not talk about it. But I'm excited. Marlon Z, what a great guy, rolling with Marlon Z. Great to see you. Garth Daisy, here for some betting advice and to watch Jimmy get drunk on live internet. Boogie Main here. We got Turnsy in the house. What a great group. We got the Nuke Worker, Susie Easton, Maxwell Smart, Slats 45, Dutch Boy Fresh. Fresh's prop videos out right now on odds.com. It is time to get to work. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are going to break this up into 3 topics of conversation. We're going to set up the topic, and then we're going to go around and hear from all 3 of our experts. And it's simple. It's sides, totals, and player props. Let's start with sides right now, but let's talk a little bit about the situation. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, February 7th. We have this Chiefs squad, and there hasn't been a ton of movement here. You can get the Chiefs at a plus 105, a minus 3.5. You can get the Chiefs -3 at -120. There hasn't been a lot of movement there. You can get the 3 for the Chiefs at some books at -107, some at -115, 108. But my book, the main one I use, has been sitting on that -120 plus 105 spot. The total has seen some movement. We've seen it open up at Bet365. We talk about the legal license books in America here on the show. We saw it open up at 56, quickly go up to 56.5, come back down to 56. It's sitting at 56 right now. There are a couple 55.5s on the board. We had a bunch of articles coming out about the weather, about the rain, about the showers and thunderstorms, and they're not happening anymore. If you're reading the most recent weather reports, it's going to be gorgeous. And precipitation for game time is down to 5%, goes down to 4 and 3% for the rest of the night. And as early as yesterday, there was still showers in the forecast. Those are all gone. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. 65 Fahrenheit, 8-mile-per-hour wind. And because of the weather change, I do expect the public to come in and start betting the over quite soon. And we'll talk about that when we get there. First, let's talk about sides. So it felt like we knew the Chiefs would be in this spot all year long. It felt like they were just destined to try to become the first team to win back-to-back Super Bowls since the 03-04 Patriots. They have this 25-year-old superstar quarterback. They have only one key player over 30 years old, and that's Travis Kelce, who had the greatest season a tight end has had in NFL history. It all seemed too easy until the 7-minute, 34-second mark of the third quarter against the Browns, when Mac Wilson took down Patrick Mahomes in what, in my eyes, was a legal hit, in the league's eyes, a legal hit. But in the eyes of Randy Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' mom, very illegal hit. She thought he should have got bounced immediately. By the way, has there ever been an attractive Randy? Has there ever been a hot female Randy? Let me answer that for you. Nope. They went 14-2, and all of a sudden, they looked vulnerable. Mahomes was woozy. He might not be in that game against. Now, Henny came in. The defense stepped up. They go into the Bills game. We don't know if Mahomes is going to play. He does play. He has a spectacular numbers, 325 yards, 3 TDs, 0 interceptions. But this is a dual threat quarterback who is no longer a dual threat. He rushed for 5 yards. He's clearly nervous about getting hit. And now we get to the Super Bowl. The public is all over the Chiefs. The Sharps are all over the Buccaneers. And they are backing this 43-year-old quarterback who's going for his 7th Super Bowl ring. The Buccaneers were 7-5 after losing to these Chiefs, 27-24 in Week 13. Then they go 7-0. They average 34.3 points per game. They have weapons on offense, the number 1 rush defense in the league. Will Brady win his 7th NFL championship, or will the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty continue? Let's go to our experts for sides action. We'll start with Bebsy. Bebsy, what is your move come Super Bowl Sunday for the side?
I'm not proud to say this. You guys know my stance on Tom Brady. I think he's arguably a top 10 quarterback of all time. I simply cannot bet against him in this spot. I can't do it. I believe the Chiefs are a better team. I like the edge to the Tampa defense, but I'm backing Tom in this one. And at plus 3.5, I feel crazy doing it, but I'm on it. I feel like if this game is won by the Chiefs, it's still decided by a field goal, and 3.5, I'm comfortable with that. So I'm going to take the Bucs. I like to go against the Sharks too, but I'm not in this case. I believe in the magic of Tom Brady. I don't believe that Tom Brady is going to be stellar. I believe that everyone is going to be stellar around Tom Brady, and he's going to get the 7th, because I also think they're going to want, Brady's coming back next year. He has not even hinted that this is his last year. He thinks he's going to play for another 3 or 4 more. It just looks better for the NFL if Tom wins one against the kid, and then we see this matchup again next year, and then he passes the torch. So I'm back in the Bucs at +3.5.
Wow. Did not expect to hear that. We are going to be making official plays here just for my own record-keeping purposes. Some of you guys know that I love doing very, very much. And we are going to log Bebsy in the Buccaneers +3.5. You can get that at -115 at BetMGM. That is the best line on the board. Line shopping here on the odds.com odds page. Bebsy backing Brady. Wow. We move down to the big Ragoo. It is sides time, Ragoo. 55th Super Bowl. Take it away.
I'm going to tip my hat. Obviously, you see I usually wear the hat of the team that I'm going to support in the bowl. It's been something I've been doing since 2002. And matter of fact, I went to the Super Bowl in San Diego. Was my first and only Super Bowl I ever went to. But when they beat the Raiders, I made a pretty nice little hefty bet at the Barbary Coast. Drove from L.A. to Vegas, laid down a good chunk of wood on Tampa Bay -10.5, and they were getting 3.5 that game. And I love the alternative numbers in Super Bowl time. Just for that reason, had a major score. But that's besides the point now. I've been to Vegas every year since that, and this is the first year I'm not going. So I'm going to be there in spirit. And, of course, I'm going to be getting down in action on the game. But my biggest thing here with 2 excellent football teams, you probably got one of the best, like Whale Capper was saying, probably the best coach in the game with 2 weeks to prepare for any team in the league. But flip the coin on the other side. Arians has been to a couple Super Bowl. He's got a couple rings as an assistant coach. And he has another coach and quarterback named Tom Brady, which has got like 6. So with Brady's experience, rallying the troops, early season, this team had a lot of inconsistencies going through mid portion of the year. Everything is gelling for this team right now. Defensively, they probably got the number 1 in the league for takeaways. Not to say that Kansas City is a bad team. Kansas City's defense is right there in the middle. Their offense is spectacular. My concerns for Kansas City is that on the edges, they're going to have to hit them pretty hard because they're not going to be able to run the ball up the middle. So they're going to have to get to the outside. I think Tampa's defense is going to live on the edge, and that's going to create some opportunities for Vay and Sue up the middle too. So they're going to have to live a little vicariously through Mahomes, obviously. But in the long run, I think Tampa's a little more balanced on defense. I think offensively they can get the job done. I think Kansas City's a little suspect down the field to throw the ball up against, and so is Tampa. But I think the big difference in this game is going to be the offensive line. I think Tampa's defense is going to control the line of scrimmage. It's going to give Brady a little more opportunities, and I take Tampa Bay money line in this game. Plus, I already played +160. It's down to 140.
Well, let's see what I can get you in the very interesting breakdown. We can get you a +145. That's at DraftKings, BetRivers, FanDuel. Already locked in for +160 here, just for show and record-keeping purposes. Ragoo is on the Buccaneers on the money line. And that brings us to the Whale Capper. Great to see you joining us again, my man. Take it away, Super Bowl 55.
Okay. So those are fair points. I will just point out that no lead is safe against Pat Mahomes. Buccaneers, it's going to be extremely important for them not just to get a lead, but to stay aggressive, to keep passing. They're going to have to do what Ragoo's Buccaneers did in 2002, come out in that second half and keep scoring touchdowns. Because, realistically, I think the points are fair that the offensive line for the Chiefs and the attrition that they've had via injury now is a concern. It's a legitimate concern. Now, if Pat Mahomes were some squirrely, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of quarterback who under pressure turned into a pumpkin, then this would be Tampa Bay run away, right? Like this is no doubter, right? And flip flop if this were a fully healthy Kansas City offensive line, I think this line is short for Kansas City. Like Kansas City probably has a decided advantage in this game if you can protect, give Mahomes a clean pocket. It does neutralize things a little bit. I think the market overall is pretty fair. I think the most likely outcome here is the Chiefs win by 3. I think it's probably going to come via comeback though, because not only does Tampa Bay have an advantage in the trenches when their defense is on the field going up against this mash unit of an offensive line, but they have an advantage when their offense is on the field. Their offensive line is excellent, and they're going up against the Chiefs defensive unit that really can't rush the passer all that well. Chris Jones is really the only standout on that unit. He can get at, come up the middle. And of course, that's sort of the one kryptonite for Tom Brady is if they can generate pressure up the middle, he's not going to look especially crisp. But I would still think that you are going to have plenty of advantage here, opportunity here early when those big bodies are rested for the Bucs and they're winning the battles of the trenches in the second quarter. I think that sets up an opportunity where you can come in live on the Chiefs at a much better number than you can see right now in the market. I haven't made any pre-flop bets here on the side. I'm going to keep a lot of my powder dry, expecting there's going to be an opportunity to bet on whoever. If I'm wrong and Chiefs go out and they look great early, they don't run away and hide. This isn't a team that just puts distance between themselves and the opponent, game in, game out. They win games close. They let teams come back. And in fact, the Bucs proved it. They could come back in the first, the game we saw against these teams in the regular season. If you go look at their 2 fourth quarter scores, people are like, garbage time points, whatever. They backdoored, whatever. They scored those 2 touchdowns lightning fast. Like they were effortless, when their backs were against the wall and they really attacked the Chiefs deep. And, so I do think either team here really is live for the comeback. And I think, the best angle of attack here is just wait and see how you can get a live entry in the end of the first quarter towards the end of the first half on, whichever team is trailing, because the truth of the matter is you can't keep Mahomes down for 4 quarters. It's just too tough. At some point the dam will break. And, the Tampa Bay defense, while their statistics look good, they have played a kind of an easy schedule, in my opinion. They haven't really been tested, to the level that they will, that we saw them tested, against the Chiefs in the regular season. They haven't had a lot of those type of contests. They had a 28-10 lead even against the Packers in the NFC title game, let them back in, so it's going to be imperative that the Bucs continue to score if they get a lead. To that degree, Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense, I think, are a little underrated. They do a very nice job kind of disguising what they're going to do on any given play. And that's how Tom Brady succeeds most of the time. He diagnoses, okay, these guys are doing this. This is the mic, this guy is coming free. Like we're going, this is our, adjustment at the line of scrimmage. Like he's a master at that. He puts on a master class any given day at doing that. But it's a lot tougher against the Steve Spagnuolo defense. So I think ultimately, this game breaks down to how aggressive the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in general. I'm hopeful that they don't lean too heavily on the running game and that you don't see 50 touches, not 50, but don't see 20 touches for Lenny Fournette here. I'd like to see them be aggressive passing, going for it on 4th down, etc. But I haven't made a bet on this game pregame other than I have Chiefs. Chiefs futures in the queue. I have Pat Mahomes MVP in the queue from pre-championship game at 3-1, and I'm not hedging out of either of those positions. So I guess ultimately what I'm saying is I like the Chiefs. I think there's a little bit of an edge on the money line for the Chiefs, especially now that it's moved down to -160. But it's going to be a competitive game, and I'm going to keep my powder dry for some in-play action.
It's a great breakdown. Absolutely great breakdown. For the show purposes, do you want to make anything official here for us? And don't feel forced into it, but would you like to make anything official?
No official play on the side for me.
All right. No problem.
One thing I wanted to mention, just to sort of piggyback with what I guess both of Ragoo and Drew mentioned, but with Fisher being out, Mike Remmers is the backup tackle in KC. And the last time Remmers was in a Super Bowl, he was protecting Cam Newton. And we all know what happened in that game with regards to protection of Cam Newton. Is it going to be the same? I don't know. Something I'm going to keep an eye on just for fun.
I guess my only counter to that is if it wasn't Pat Mahomes, I would be scared out of my mind to back the Chiefs in this game. But Mahomes is so good at eluding pressure, breaking the pocket, and a lot of the time, in fact, teams have learned the hard way. You can't blitz Mahomes. You can't expect to get home because he's elusive, he's fast, he's got great awareness. And when he does break the pocket, you've got athletes like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce running amok down the field, with 10 yards of separation, and he hits a home run, and it's like, oh, you were that close to a game-breaking sack on third down. Well, now you just conceded a touchdown. So,
I see either a lot of lateral plays for Kansas City, or Mahomes breaking the pocket and trying to stretch the field. That's got to be their game plan.
Yeah, and I think it'll be situational. We'll have to see if the Buccaneers get off to a fast start. But we know that Tyreek Hill can take a 5-yard slant and take it for 70.
Right.
I am going to take the Chiefs -3, -112 at DraftKings for show purposes. I've yet to bet it. Just with the COVID issues going on, I just wanted to wait. I wanted to wait. The line's not getting away from me. So I just want to make sure before I put money down that everybody is good. I do feel like there's a vividness bias and a recency bias that you can claim exists on both teams. But I believe it's much bigger on the Buccaneers. There are a lot of people who've made a lot of money off of them in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 7 weeks. There's a lot of people who've made a lot of money off of Brady in his career. There's a ton of people with futures bets and big bets made on the Buccaneers as soon as Brady went over to them. There's a ton of people drinking the juice, and he's got 6 championship rings. Why wouldn't you? But I don't love the way he's looked through these playoffs, and we're going to get into some of those stats here when we talk about props and totals, so I won't break that down now. But I am moving on the Chiefs at -3 and -112 at DraftKings, and I simply feel like the Chiefs are a better football team, and the torch is going to be passed to Mahomes, and it's dynasty time for this young Chiefs squad. And Andy Reid, is there another coach in NFL history who's ever deserved this kind of late run in his long career more than Andy Reid? And I'm on the public side, not the sharp side. I'm on the Chiefs -3. We move on to totals. Next. And I can't wait to hear your guys' breakdowns. This was another situation that when I saw the 56.5, I wanted to bet it on the under, but I hesitated, and for good reason. These two offenses are very strong. Let's break this down quickly. During the regular season, the Chiefs were tied for 6th in the league, gaining 7.9 yards per pass attempt. Second in the league with 69 completions for 20-plus yards. Just tied for 16th in the league with 8 completions over 40-plus yards. The Buccaneers' pass defense has been vulnerable this year, 21st in the league. They allowed 3,945 yards. They were tied for 22nd, allowing 29 TDs. They did get 15 picks, which was tied for 7th. They were 10th in the league, allowing 46 passes of 20-plus. They were a little better in the 40-plus category. They allowed a passer rating of 94.3 and 48 sacks. We know what they can do on the rush defense side of things. The Chiefs were 16th in the league rushing, tied for 11th, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Looking back at that, I think those are bad numbers, considering you have to be in a pass defense so often against the Chiefs. 13 rush TDs tied them for 22nd, 11 rushes of 20-plus. They were tied for last in the league with the Chargers and the Dolphins with 0 rushes of 40-plus. And we know what this Buccaneer rush defense can do. They allowed a league-best 1,289 yards. 3.6 yards per carry. They allowed a league low 10 TDs. We're tied for second, allowing just 4 carries over 20 yards and 1 carry over 40 yards, which means that the Chiefs are likely going to have to move the ball through the air, and that will put points on the board and keep the clock stopped. Brady completed 65.7% of his passes, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, passer rating of 102.2. In the playoffs, it hasn't been as good. 55%, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 90.8 rating. And it's the opposite for Mahomes. His numbers have improved in the playoffs. Brady, third in the league, 67 passes plus 20 yards, fourth in the league with 12 passes plus 40 yards. We often question whether he could throw the deep ball. He certainly was able to this year. And the Chiefs' pass defense, 14th in pass yards allowed, tied for 20th, allowing 29 pass TDs. They were 10th, allowing a passer rating of 89.4, and not nearly the same sort of pass rush, just 32 sacks. The Buccaneers, 28th in the league in rushing. They were tied for 24th, averaging 4.1 yards per carry, 9 rushes over 20 yards, tied for 8th, allowing – the Chiefs' defense was tied for 8th, allowing rushes for over 20 yards. The way I see this with this, both running games that aren't going to be able to move the ball much, it has kept me from betting the under that I so want to bet. But let's pass it around to the experts and see what moves should be made. We will start with the big Ragoo. We're talking totals.
Yeah. Initially, I was looking at some quarter totals, first quarter, second quarter, breaking the quarters down. Now, notoriously, for Kansas City's sake, we always know, not always, but they have had a history of starting slow early on, letting other teams jump out in front. And a big, believe it or not, you can look back at the coin toss for them. Most of the times, even if they win the coin toss, they'll defer and give the ball to the other team. So my first thought was, I know it's not a total, but I was looking at taking Tampa Bay plus a half in the first quarter, but that kind of tied into the under. So I was going to leave the first quarter alone totally as far as the number goes, because you always have the scripted plays. You're going to see how it's going to work out, and I don't even know what is the first quarter total. Do you have that handy? 10 points. Yeah, okay. And I think that's on par with what the teams have been averaging, like just a little better than 5 points over the past 3 games in the first quarter. But the second quarter, I think is going to be a monster quarter. And this is a quarter that I'm looking, Kansas City's going to jump out of the gates. They're going to get their points. It's probably going to be their biggest quarter of the game is the way I cap it out. I think Tampa's going to score at least 10 to 12 points in the second quarter. I think Kansas City's going to outscore them probably maybe like 17 points, 14, 17 points. So I'm looking for a 20-plus point second quarter, and that could put the game over for the first half, or depending on whether they come up with a couple field goals. I think what's the first half total in the game?
I'm going to pull that up right now. And by the way, with the first quarters, you can get 10s and you can get 10.5s.
Yeah.
Juiced accordingly. The first half right now, we have 27.5.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sizable number there. 27.5. So if you get 20 and let's say 7, you're looking at 27. Basically, you lose by the hook if it goes that way. But I feel safe, a little safer taking the second quarter over the points. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 17. That's what I got down at initially, minus 115. I don't know what you can get me right now.
Well, I will line shop for you for a second quarter over. That bet makes a ton of sense to me. Very interesting breakdown. I will line shop while we hear from the Whale Capper. Whale Capper totals.
So I am with you, Jimmy, and I think Ragoo in general, we kind of all sort of see this the same way. This is a big number. This is a big number for a lot of reasons. These two defenses are a little underrated by the market. There are some question marks in terms of how each team is really going to be able to score so explosively. 56. I mean, that you're going to need each team to threaten 30 here to make this happen. The problem is if Tampa Bay does get out to a lead, then the live total might as well be infinity because Kansas City scores so fast when they're behind that the game just explodes. And I was on the under in Houston KC last year in the playoffs. And I remember even before the game saying, like, the only thing I'm a little concerned about is if like Houston gets out to like a big lead, then I'm screwed. And sure enough, Houston went out to a 24-0 lead and the game finished with like 80 points. And that's kind of what you get when you put the Chiefs' backs against the wall, when you threaten Mahomes, in the playoffs, he really turns it up. And that's a game state that I don't think you can really totally rule out because of the way that this is set up. Likelihood that the Chiefs defer if they win the coin toss. Bucks get the ball first. They got the advantage in the trenches. They're probably going to have some early success. So I think I'm looking at other ways to attack this. I think Tampa Bay. I played Tampa Bay first quarter over 6.5 points. I can see a clean drive out of the gate for these guys with the 2 weeks to prepare and the weapons they have on offense and getting the ball first likely. That probably gives them 2 cracks in the first quarter to score a touchdown. And so over 6.5 is in my queue for Tampa Bay points in the first quarter. Similarly, I like, from a straight scoring standpoint, I like KC, I think they're going to be kicking some field goals early in this one. On the real high leverage downs, we have not seen them be clean at all in the red zone this season. It has been a struggle for them to get it in, to punch it in when they're down there. People look at how much they're scoring and think, oh, well, this team must be efficient in the red zone. Most of their scoring comes from outside the red zone, wildly. And when they're in there, they struggle. They kick a lot of field goals. I think there's, the likelihood that you could have some sacks, flip things early in terms of red zone opportunities as Todd Bowles dials up the blitz because he's not afraid of giving up a 50-yard pass if they're already at the 20. So now we can get a little bit more aggressive with our blitz. We can shut you down on third down. And now you tried out the field goal unit. I think KC kicks the first field goal as a prop that I like. Tampa Bay scores the first touchdown as a prop that I like. KC in general, field goals over is a prop that I like. Butker, more field goals and more points scored than Suckup is a bettable number in my opinion, because these are all lined like it's 50-50, or the Chiefs will score 3 more points over the course of the game. It's not really lined in the same way that reflects KC's offense in the red zone is not great, and KC's defense in the red zone is not very good either. They give up loads of touchdowns when opposing teams get inside the 20-yard line. So I do think it sets up for Tampa Bay to score some points in the first half here, get a little bit of a lead, and at that point you might see the top get ripped off this thing. Now the flip side is true as well. If Kansas City looks clean early and they got a lead, they can put away. They can wipe a whole quarter out with 1 or 2 drives. They absolutely have the tools to do it. They can stretch it out. They're tough to get off the field on third down because of the way Mahomes scrambles. So it's almost like you have to see how the first quarter plays out. Tampa Bay has a lead. Live over is too low. Kansas City has a lead, and it's a spot for a live under.
Yeah, that makes absolute perfect sense. I took a lot of unders in Chiefs games this year, and I would always pray that they were ahead.
Yes, same. Same.
8-minute drives, 9-minute drives, and it's possible in this game. And I like what both you and Ragoo said, but it's possible in this game that the first quarter is the first 12 or 13 minutes is just 1 drive each.
That's possible. Yeah.
Very interesting. Is there anything that you want to, just for me tweeting out show picks in the totals situation, is there anything that you want me to make as an official show pick?
Yeah, Tampa Bay first quarter over 6.5. I got it at plus 100. I think it's still probably pretty close to that.
Tampa
I don't think it's gone up.
First quarter over 6.5 plus 100. And Ragoo, I can't, and I'm going to keep looking, but at this point, I can't find just a second quarter total for whatever reason. I have found some very interesting spot, like second quarter highest scoring quarter, and that's at plus 150. So I'm going to keep looking and see if I can get you just a number at this point. But and I'm going to keep looking. We're going to hear what Bebenek's breakdown here is for the totals.
I saw one. I'll shoot you a message, Jimmy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Bebsy, let's go totals, my friend.
Well, I'm pretty relieved to hear that I'm pretty much lockstep with Whale and Ragoo. Both looks, I think, real sharp. I'll touch on what Whale said first. I agree wholeheartedly. If Tampa gets up early, the over is very much in play again, because we've seen just how quickly this Tampa team can score, or this Chiefs team can score. We saw it against the Niners last year. We saw it against the Titans. We see it time and again. They get behind, and then they just light up 2 touchdowns in a heartbeat. So I want the under. I feel like, and this is more of a gut thing, I really believe, as Drew said, both of these defenses are fairly underrated, and this is the time of a year, like obviously Super Bowl, where defenses step up and make huge plays. Now, this Tampa defense is very good, not as good as the Niners defense last year, but still very good. And look, the point total was nowhere near this last year. So, and everything came in the fourth quarter, basically. So I'm staying off the full game because of that concern, because I do believe if Tampa gets out early, then the score is going to go through the roof. But this is more to what Ragoo said. I believe, he doesn't want to make the play. I do. I want to take the first quarter under 10.5. And again, to echo, I think Drew said this, like both of these teams could have one drive in the first quarter. And in the last 3 Super Bowls, I understand it's a different team, but in the last 3 Super Bowls that Tom Brady's played in, he has put up a total of 3 points in the first quarter. I think this game starts off very slow. I think there's a feeling out process. I think neither team is going to take a ton of risks out the gates. Again, both offenses are capable of exploding. I just don't see it starting that way. So a first quarter 10.5, I can see it being a 3-0 game. I can see it being a 3-3 game. I just don't see 2 touchdowns being scored in the first quarter of this game. So at 10.5, I don't know. It's a bit of a gut play here, but I like that look. And there's enough logic to back up my gut. So I'm gonna jump on that.
And that 10.5 is varying prices and big differences. It's at -150 at Bet Rivers, but it's just -120 at BetMGM. So first quarter under 10.5, -120 at BetMGM. And Whale has hooked me up with that spot, Ragoo, and it's very interesting here at FanDuel for you. Thank you, Whale. You can get that second quarter total over 17 at +106.
Book it, Daniel.
Let's do that.
So perfect game state here. Tampa Bay gets the ball first, scores a touchdown. Chiefs get the ball second, kick the field goal. Tampa Bay's third drive bleeds into the second quarter, and they score a second touchdown, and then game on. 14-3. It turns into a shootout.
I mean, I personally would love to see that.
Yeah,
That's typical Kansas City fashion right there, right?
Yep, pretty much.
The breakdowns just make a ton of sense. And with all that being said, it does make me like the first half under 27.5 more than I like the full game under 56.5, because we could be seeing we could be needing fast scores in the second half. Well, what do you think of that first half under compared to the full game under? Is that high scoring second quarter scare you in that regard?
Not really, no. I honestly, because and maybe I'm anchoring too much on what we saw in last year's Super Bowl, but the pass rush for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if it gets home, if it's disruptive, if it stops, if it gets the Chiefs off the field on third down, that's more likely to work in the first half than the second half because those big boys get tired. This is going to be a long game, and they don't have a ton of depth. They really just have the 4, right? And I don't think they want to blitz. I think they want to get it done with the 4, those main 4 guys, and they're great. But at some point they're going to wear down. So I do think that you see a higher scoring second half than the first half, although that's obviously not a very contrarian opinion. That's pretty widely held.
just to touch on that too, is all year long we've seen way less flags for holding. That was a big complaint across the board last year. Obviously the flags were put away in the Super Bowl last year. A lot of holding, but I think it's going to be more of the same. I really believe the refs are going to be instructed to let a lot of holding happen because the world wants to see these 2 quarterbacks throw the ball. So I think you're going to see a lot of hold. Like I promise you, come Monday, the narrative will be a ton of pictures on Twitter, like stills of blatant holds that weren't called.
Call every play if they want.
They could, yeah. But I just, in general, holding calls way down this year and down even further in the playoffs.
Well, I will make official here for just show purposes. I do think that money's going to start coming in on the over with the weather change and the excitement over betting and over with a group of people, even though the groups are going to be 5 and under. I'm going to take a first half under 27.5 minus 107. That's available at Bet Rivers. And let's move on to player props. But to review the totals, we have Ragoo on the second quarter over 17 at plus 106. We have Whale on Tampa Bay first quarter over 6.5 at plus 100. We have Bebsy on first quarter under 10.5 at minus 120. And I'm on the first half under 27.5 at minus 107. Player props, it is. Let's talk about a few of them. And we have a great video out right now starring Dutch Boy Fresh on odds.com on his best looks. He picked 6 player props that he's attacking. Mahomes, 66.3 of his passes during the regular season, 38 TDs, 6 interceptions, passer rating of 108.2. As I said, in the postseason, even though he was knocked out of a game for a quarter and a half, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 73.5% of his passes, passer rating of 118.5. Travis Kelce was Mahomes' favorite target with 105 receptions, 1,416 yards, 11 TDs in the regular season. Tyreek Hill second, 87 receptions, 1,276 yards, 15 TDs. And what you'll see with both of these teams is there's a lot of flipping going on at postseason. Kelce again led the team with 21 receptions, but his 227 yards was surpassed by Hill's 282 yards on 17 receptions. The Chiefs were led by Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 181 rushes for 803 yards, 4 TDs. He injured his hip and ankle in Week 15. And although he came back in the playoffs, he's been barely used. Mahomes was next with 62 carries for 308 yards. Le'Veon Bell was after that with 63 carries for 250 yards, 2 TDs. And then Darrell Williams, 39 rushes for 169 yards. In the postseason, it's been Darren Williams being trusted with the rock. 26 rushes, 130 yards, 1 TD. McCole Hardman is second with 2 rushes for 54 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 6 rushes for 7 yards. And Le'Veon Bell rushed twice for 6 yards, and he's dealing with a knee injury. On the other side, we have Brady. 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, passer rating of 102.2 in the regular season. That's gone down to 90.8 in the postseason. Mike Evans was his favorite target, 70 receptions for 1,006 yards, 13 TDs. Chris Godwin was second with 65 receptions, 840 yards, 7 TDs. In the postseason, it flipped. Godwin leading the way, 14 receptions for 223 yards. And we have Mike Evans getting 10 receptions for 173 yards, 2 TDs. Both Evans and Brown are dealing with knee injuries. It looks like both are going to go. We know that Evans is going to go. It's been Brown that we've been waiting to find out. Then you have Ronald Jones, the leading rusher all year, 192 carries, 978 yards. Fournette only ran for 367 yards, and that's been flipped. Now Fournette has been the go-to guy with 48 rushes for 211 yards in the playoffs, and Ronald Jones only carried the ball 23 times for 78 yards. And we know that Ronald Jones had the pinky finger surgery. And he also had caught COVID. So he's been battling a bunch of different things. And one of Dutch's props is he's all over Fournette. He's all over the Fournette over rushes. He's all over the Fournette touchdown. Let's start with the whale capper. It is player props time. Take it away.
So the name of the game in player props, in my opinion, is to try to identify props that are resilient to game state. So regardless, you don't want to necessarily say, oh, I think this is what's going to happen in the game, therefore this prop makes sense. Because if that's what you want to do, you might as well not bet, don't double down on the juice, just find the best way to attack that in the side or the total market, right? Because it's generally you're paying higher juice for these player props. That said, there are definitely a couple of ways to attack the player prop market, in my opinion, where you're getting something resilient of game state. And the most obvious way is Pat Mahomes pass attempts over. The Tampa Bay run defense is out of this world good. And you know who knows that? Andy Reid. And you know why I know he knows that? Because he had Pat Mahomes throw the ball 49 times the first time these two teams played. And almost without question, with a game state where they were up multiple scores, rather than just go with the conservative plan and run, pass, punt, they continued to throw the ball. And they recognized how important it was to have some effective drives to keep Tom Brady on the sidelines, because they saw Tom Brady picking apart their defense in the second half. So I would expect that you see a very similar conceptual framework here if Kansas City gets a lead where they are passing to put away the game. Similarly, if they are at a deficit, they are almost guaranteed to have a higher quantity of pass attempts as they try to make a comeback. So that's one that I think is positive either way. The only thing that really threatens it is if Mahomes is so good that he's hitting 70-yard bombs and they only have one pass attempt drive, right? I mean, that's kind of the risk here, and that's why the number is a little low. I'm seeing 41.5 market wide. I make the fair number here 44. So the one that really sticks out to me is Pat Mahomes pass attempts over. Similarly, this seems like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game more so than a Darrell Williams game. And his numbers are a little deflated because we didn't see him perform especially well in the AFC title game. Also, the Tampa Bay side of the ball, I think Godwin is the guy more so than Evans here. Part of the reason is the Kansas City defense is full of big physical cornerbacks that can match up well against Evans. Evans is much more likely to be a target in the red zone than he is in neutral game state. So I think that it's going to be pretty important for Godwin and Brate to kind of do the dirty work in the middle of the field for the Bucks passing game to have success. So Godwin more so than Evans for sure. And if you can find some matchups where those guys are paired head to head in terms of yardage and receptions, and I like Godwin in both of those markets. But without question, I think the numbers are fair for the big name guys. And if you really want to find value, you got to kind of dig a little deeper and try to find some weird ones.
The pass attempts is perfect for how I see the Chiefs playing here. I'm going to search for the best number I can give you, but that makes a ton of sense. Mahomes pass attempts over, first and foremost. It's a great look. Let's move on to Bebsy. Bebsy, player props. I know that you got very hot on them in the second half of the season, so take it away, Super Bowl 55.
Well, you always feel a little bit better about your choices if somebody like Whale Capper says it pretty much right before you. But my first prop I'm going to lock in is the Evans anytime touchdown for two reasons. Everything Drew just said, I think he's going to be more of a red zone target in this game, specifically against this defense, but also because – look, all year long, we know the Chiefs have not had a great red zone defense. All year long, Evans has been Tom Brady's go-to guy in the red zone. So it just makes too much sense to not take this anytime TD for Evans. The guy is still a monster. Yes, they got big corners who can line up well against him, but just in the red zone, Tom looks to him first. And he's got great receivers, but the first guy he looks to is always Evans. So I see that as being very much in play. I also think this is look, I love the way Fournette's playing. It kind of reminds me of the guy we saw at LSU before he got bogged down in Jacksonville. And look, Rojo's been pretty absent down the stretch. Of course, the injuries and the COVID have factored into that. But just the way Fournette's been playing, he looks like he's having fun again. So I'm going to throw down on the Fournette anytime TD as well. Now, again, this is something that Drew just mentioned, but Cameron Brate is listed at, I got him at 28.5 receiving yards. I am going to take that over for two reasons. One, completely agree that he's going to have to do the dirty work in this game, but also the Chiefs have been bad against tight ends all year long. Brate has emerged as a reliable go-to target for Brady. I see him being open early and often. So I just think that's a slam dunk for me. And the last one I am going to take is hang on, I got it written down here. This is the one I'm a little bit apprehensive about because the number's quite high, but I'm still going to do it anyways, and that's Tyreek Hill, 94.5 receiving yards. It's high, but my logic is this. If you're going to slow down one or the other, you can't slow down both Kelce and Hill. I like the way Hill matches up in this game better than I do Kelce. Look, Kelce is the best receiver in the league that lines up at the tight end position. But he's going against Devin White, who's incredibly talented, great coverage grade this year. I just think Kelce is still going to have numbers. He's still going to have a very good game, but I think Tyreek is going to be the go-to guy in this game, so I'm going to lock that in as well. I just see – look, I don't like Tyreek Hill the person. Tyreek Hill the player is so much fun to watch. I can't think of another receiver that I've seen in my lifetime who gets in and out of his breaks and gets up to top speed again like he does. So I think it's going to be a big, big day for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge day for Tyreek Hill. Dutch Boy Fresh got Tyreek in over 92.5. It's moving up quickly. It's a look that I'm going to be on as well. Tyreek Hill and the Mahomes pass attempts. I'm gonna line chop for all these and not just make it officially here, but I'll tweet out what I can find because Whale Capper, your pass attempts at Bet365 is at 40.5, but it's minus 150 juice. And they do that when they don't want you to bet it. They're moving that. That'll be that'll end up at minus 170. They won't move it up because they don't want you on it.
Yeah. They don't want to get middle.
They're daring you just to bet it.
Yeah. All right. So we have for Bebsy Evans anytime TD, Fournette anytime TD, Brate over in receiving yards. There is a 28.5. I'll keep looking. Tyreek Hill over 94.5 receiving yards. And now let's go to Doc Big Ragoo. Take it away. Player props.
That Fournette's a pretty popular play, man, because that was one that already played also early on. Just so much going on with Fournette right now throughout the playoffs, the postseason, with Rojo, like Bebs was saying. So that's the horse right now for them. Not so much, especially when you get down to the red zone area. You're going to get those short yardage plays. And Brady's basically took the talent of his team and morphed it into his style of football. And he likes the big bruising back. He's got the tight ends blocking, Gronk and Brate. I mean, the running game, I don't think you're gonna see a well-balanced attack, but Fournette's going to play into that catching. He's got the capability to catch the ball in the backfield, short yardage plays, and he can bust one downfield for 20+ yards. So I like the anytime touchdown too. Also, that's one I had, and I'm gonna take the GOAT. I know it's a kind of a square play here, but I think Brady's going to get his looks, and I like Brady to throw over 2.5 touchdowns in this game. I know that the sharps are on the other side of that, but I just, I'm not going to bet against Brady, and especially when the game's on the line, I'm going to say he's going to rise up to the occasion. And don't be surprised if he don't hook up with Gronk to break the all-time record touchdowns combination quarterback, and him and Gronk to get that done. Now, that's I think that's a pretty strong plus number on Brady too, for the 2.5 touchdowns. the only thing I'm a little leery of, I don't like laying big minus numbers here, but like to what Bebs and Wellcap were talking about with Kelsey, it's either going to be him or Hill. And I think sometimes with that Tampa defense, they kind of drop in that zone a little bit. I think it's going to open up a lot of short passes for these guys, if they don't get to the quarterback not early, but often. And that's going to give Kelsey some good looks, running those little rub routes and across the middle. So I think Kelsey getting 7.5 receptions is a pretty good solid bet. I think it's going to be juiced pretty high, though. I think probably be in the neighborhood of 160, 170. And I'm not a fan of doing that, but I'm going to do it. And the other look I like, hey, Patrick Mahomes, touchdown, baby, plus 220. Just, all he's got to do is do this right across the line. Little fake, jumping in, touchdown. He'll put his body on the line like Whale was saying. It's for all the marbles. I like Mahomes at a big price, score a touchdown.
We have Fournette, anytime TD, Brady, over 2.5 touchdowns. What was the third one?
Kelsey, 7.5 receptions, over.
7.5 receptions, over. Those all make a ton of sense. For me, I want to focus all of my player props around Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Kelsey. I agree with I don't need to take Kelsey's yards. I agree with just the pass receptions for Kelsey. And I also don't feel like I need to take Tyreek Hill's receptions, even though I don't dislike him. So I'd rather have Tyreek Hill over in yards. I want Kelsey in receptions. I want Mahomes in pass attempts. I think Whale nailed that. And then I'm going to study a little more with the yards for Mahomes. And then do you think it's possible that Tyreek Hill is disliked enough that if he caught for 186 yards and 2 TDs, they'd still give the MVP to Mahomes?
Yes.
100%. There's he would have to put up 300 yards, I think, to get the MVP.
He's not on some guys' ballots.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's something I just wanted to.
And let's face it, you have to be beyond spectacular to win a Super Bowl MVP over the winning quarterback. Because, quite frankly, Patrick Mahomes did not earn his MVP last year. If anything, it should have gone to Williams.
Yeah,
he actually was quite terrible until the fourth quarter. He was having an awful game. The only reason they were still in it was because of Williams. So it's really just the winning quarterback trophy now.
Yeah. Hey, the very first year that they posted odds on MVP, it was the Broncos. The Broncos were playing, right? And then I bet the running back, I figured if he ran for, I forget who it was at that time. Anyways, that was the year that
Elway and Terrell Davis.
Huh?
It's like Elway and Terrell Davis.
No. They didn't take MVP bets back in those days. They only took them a few years back, if you remember correctly. At the Westgate, it was like the first year they took MVP odds. But anyways, long story short, the defensive end got the 35-1. Yeah. 35-1. That was the last time I think on the second time an MVP Super Bowl was the defensive guy.
I think that Tyreek Hill over in yards, Mahomes over in pass attempts, and Kelsey receptions could all cash in a loss. That those are 3 props that wouldn't even need a victory to cash.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for.
That's a good time,
Yeah, so, you want the ones that are resilient to game state, because if some years, if you're betting over on yards and attempts, you're better off with your team losing than winning. This isn't one of those years for the Chiefs, though, just because of the way they're so tilted towards the pass. I mean, the yardage props kind of reflect that, right? Like if you add up Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yardage props, it's like what, 50 yards, 60 yards? So they're not expecting them to get much on the ground. They're only expecting them to, about 15, 20 handoffs total all game. So it's, they're in general, the bookmakers are wise to this.
Whale Capper, would you wait 24 or even 48 hours more before placing these bets because of COVID?
I hadn't really thought of that. My guess at this point is that we're in the situation like the Major League Baseball in Game 7, where even if a guy gets popped in game, we just let it go. That's kind of my thought. They're so close to the finish line. I think they're just ready to let, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. And also, I guess other than the barber, with the COVID thing this week, both these teams have done really well at keeping their guys, on the right side of the protocols and keeping everybody from being exposed. So I don't know that there's really a huge likelihood that anyone is a surprise scratch. I think, if you timing wise is important though for these player props, because if you like unders, just you wait, let them keep moving the juice up, let them move the number up, and sweep in on game day, because really they're mostly just taking one-way action on these overs for now, as far as I can tell you.
Oh, without a doubt. If the COVID barber just took me right back to the poison pizza.
It does, yes.
But they stopped it from happening. But it's just the same thing from Utah, Chicago, back in the day. All right, there you have it. I'm going to quickly review all the action, and then we are going to say bye to our cappers. So first off, sides. Bebenek on the Buccaneers plus 3.5 at -115. Ragoo Buccaneers plus 145. I'm Chiefs -3, -112. And Whale wants to keep all his cash ready to attack live, which is a really fun way of doing it. In totals, Ragoo second quarter over 17 at +106. Whale Tampa Bay first quarter over 6.5 at +100. Bebsy first quarter under 10.5 -120. And I'm first half under 27.5 at -107. But I agree, I'm not betting any unders for at least 48 hours, maybe even 60 hours. Boogie Main shouting me out for the Warren Moon jersey. Thank you. He may not have won the Super Bowl, but 5 Grey Cups. Sorry, I should be yelling.
5
Grey Cups in a row.
There's
Tom Brady could never.
There's like 6 teams up here. They all get 5 or 6 per career. So.
Come on. Keep it nice. It sounded great. Player props. Whale is on Mahomes. Pass attempts over. The breakdown was absolutely perfect. And then seeing the -150, I was like, of course, they don't want you to bet it. Bebsy's on Evans anytime TD, Fournette anytime TD, Brate over 28.5 receiving yards. I'm going to line shop for this before I tweet this out. Tyreek Hill over 94.5 receiving yards. Ragoo's on Fournette anytime TD, Brady over 2.5 touchdowns, Kelsey 7.5 receptions, Mahomes TD. And I'm on Tyreek Hill over yards, Mahomes over passing attempts, and Kelsey receptions. And that is our final show of the season. So nice to be live with you guys again. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Let's go around real quickly. First off, Whale Capper, thank you so much for joining us. Can you let us know, talk to us and the fans a little bit about the deep dive podcast and where we can find you guys?
Yeah, if you like live handicapping, go to my Twitter at halftime of the big game, and we will be doing a live show breaking down the halftime market, try to identify some value for you. We'll chop it up. It'll be fun. And then outside, once football season's over, we're going to do some pretty, pretty extensive podcast series, talking to some advantage players, picking away at their strategy, trying to figure out, how to be better and better at this as we, continue to learn and grow and win money.
It's a great podcast. Definitely check it out. And Whale, thank you so much for hanging with us, my man. What a treat. What an absolute treat. Ragoo, so good to see you, man. To know you and Kelly are on the other side of this, it's just makes me feel so good. Makes all of our friends and fans and the cappers that we work with every day so happy to see you, man. So please send our love to Kelly, and it's just so great seeing you back in action.
Same here, brother. Same here. And big shout out to Andy Drew also.
Yeah, Drew's partner, Andy, absolutely. We got Ragoo back in action, baby. And Bebenek, our last show of the season. It was so much fun getting to cap the entire year with you. Thank you for all your hard work and insights and all of it. And you guys, we wouldn't have had this opportunity, had this been a non-COVID year, Rob Bebenek, one of the best comedians in North America, would be working every weekend. We probably would have got him on some Sundays, maybe. And his album is out right now. It is such a great album. Definitely check it out. Check out his Twitter, and that's where you'll get all that stuff. But this was a perfect year to have you on every show, with you not being able to do live stand-up comedy, or at least in front of an audience live. Bebsy, thank you for all your hard work, man. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, man. We've been sort of doing this, been with you behind the scenes for years. So much fun to be part of the show. I love this chat. You guys are so much fun. Even when you get mad at me for talking shit about Brady, you guys are an absolute treat. It's so much fun. Ragoo, it's so good to see you healthy and on the mend. And Capper, Whale Capper, anytime you join us, it's such a fucking treat to pick your brain. This has really been just a blast all year.
Yeah, this is a good show.
Well put. Nuke Worker, Kev Riley, Lance LaRose, Alex Ramirez, Slats 45. Yeah, it's going to be a juicy night tonight. Alex Ramirez, Intex. What an absolute great. The Sweaty Butcher, Dennis Garcia, Al Cervic, Buzz Nuts, Canas Cat, Papa Cows, Ron Burgundy 88. Oh, all you guys, man. DX Filer, Susie Easton. Thank you guys so much. Boogie Maine. Thank you guys for supporting us all year. Now let's have a giant Sunday. We can't go to a big party, but we can bet heavily. And that's a big enough party. That's a good enough party for me. On behalf of everybody here, thank you guys so much for your support. Everybody at odds.com. On behalf of Bebsy, Big Ragoo, and the Whale Capper, thank you guys for watching, and have an incredibly enjoyable Super Bowl. And we'll see you again soon.